fun to hang out with him. Do you want to do it with this background? Or do you want to do it with this one? Because there's a bunch of random pictures.
Yeah, I think it's okay. Hey everyone, welcome to the information session.
Do you want to do it with this background? Or do you want to do it with this one?
Oh, okay. So we want to go ahead and get started. And I want to.
Hey everyone, welcome to the information.
And so I'm Hannah Benson. I'm the Vice President of Outgoing Global Volunteers Programs at AIESEC University of Georgia. And I'm going to be talking mostly today about our exchange programs for the rest of the summer. So, if you come in and tune in live or watch this video later on and you're still looking for something to do with the rest of your summer, that's perfect because we do still have programs available and you can still apply. So, before I go ahead and get started with the informational part of the PowerPoint, I do want to introduce someone who's going to be coming in and talking a little bit later. So Eileen, you can come sit down next to me for a second.
Hi guys, my name is Eileen Hong. I was an exchange participant last summer. I went to Delhi, India, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in the future. But I'm also now an AIESECer as well. So I also have information about actually going abroad and helping you out with that if you have any questions for me or anything like that.
Great, thanks Eileen.
Yeah.
Awesome. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and start looking at the informational part of this session. If at any point you have questions, you can comment preferably on the YouTube, or if you're here with us in the Google Hangouts, you can also comment in the box there, and I'll do my best to respond to anything. If you're on the Facebook, it might take me a little bit longer to see, so just be patient, but I do want to answer your questions, especially if you're tuning in with us live. But welcome to the information session. So I'm going to be talking about our volunteerships abroad with AIESEC. So AIESEC is a not-for-profit organization that is actually youth-led, and our mission is pretty simple. This is the guiding principle that we use to do everything that we do. So our mission is to achieve peace in our world in such a stressful time, as well as to achieve the fulfillment of humankind's potential. And that second part of our mission sounds a little bit fluffy and you're not really sure what it means. But basically what we believe is that the solution to strife in our world and to all these problems that we do face is youth leadership. And so that's what we mean by fulfillment of humankind's potential, is that we believe anyone can develop leadership, and all it takes is to be given an opportunity. So AIESEC, as I mentioned, we are a not-for-profit organization that strives to develop youth leadership, and we believe that the best way to do that is through cross-cultural exchange. And the reason for that is because it goes into AIESEC's history a little bit. So you may be wondering, like, what is this weird acronym? I'm not really sure what it stands for. The acronym is actually French. You can go search it on Wikipedia if you want to. I don't personally speak French, so I'm not going to try and butcher it. But the organization was formed after World War II, and that's why it is so important to us to maintain that goal of attaining peace. So what we actually do and what our programs try to achieve is to attain youth leadership. And leadership is kind of another fluffy, sometimes topic, and you may have talked about it before with friends or in a class. But I do want to mention that AIESEC has some specific definitions of what we want to develop in youth leaders. So a couple of our values are living with diversity, enjoying participation, and being open to new opportunities, as well as demonstrating integrity and acting sustainably. And AIESEC also has 4 core leadership values that we believe can be developed in anyone. So those would be solution orientation, world citizenship, empowering others, and self-awareness. I was about to say self-orientation, but it's kind of the opposite of that, but kind of knowing yourself and being self-aware. So if you have any questions about what AIESEC is and what our organization attains to do, or about our history, those are things that any AIESECer would love to talk with you about. So again, you can comment or send us an email or whatever you would like. So now that I've kind of given a short kind of description of AIESEC, I do want to show this video because I think it sums things up really nicely, and it's just a really fun thing. It has a cool accent with it as well.
quick take myself off of mute.
It's just a really fun thing
All right,
that has
sorry
to
about
relax
that.
about this one.
Every generation has the chance to shape the world, but the challenge is more complex than ever before. And yet everywhere, education systems are leaving young people unprepared to deal with the pace of economic, social, and technological change. The world is defined by the people who live in it, so we believe the solution is to develop responsible and entrepreneurial young leaders today who will choose how the world will be led tomorrow. Unlike anyone else, we do this by providing practical
I realized because I clicked on the Google Hangouts link, but I didn't click on the YouTube link. So that's not bad.
I think it should be fine now. But yeah, but once it's done, then we'll mute your screen and then I'll come back on.
Okay.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Cool. We figured it out.
I was about to like literally run out the door. Like,
Rose laptop.
Okay.
Is your sound on?
I turned it off from my computer.
those leadership stories together, we'll see a truly remarkable impact on the world. History has shown us what just one great leader can do. So imagine what a
Got that. Don't make out of it.
It's fine. Where's the Hangouts? Because if you are okay, that's strange.
I'm still screen sharing.
Okay, guys, so I hope you're able to kind of see that video. Sorry if there was any echoing or weird screen things going on, but it's our first time doing a virtual information session, so I hope that you're going to be able to enjoy it. Yeah, so what we're here to talk about today is what does AIESEC do? We provide these cross-cultural exchanges that I mentioned earlier so that students and young people can develop leadership skills primarily and serve their community and the global community in ways they care about. So as I mentioned, I am head of the Global Volunteers program at UGA, and I send people abroad to do various types of projects in a few different countries. So the Global Volunteers program It generally costs $500, and we find that a lot of exchange participants find that super appealing because it's not our aim to, you know, plan out things that maybe you don't want to do. We leave everything very open-ended to you as far as how you want your experience to be and for you to take initiative and make your own experience. And we give you all of the things that you need to be successful, but also to kind of clear your mind and allow you to focus on the task at hand. So these volunteer opportunities are 6 to 8 weeks. The majority of them are 6 weeks, but you know, as you're kind of searching through and finding what your preferences are on our portal, you might find a few that are longer, and that's totally normal. So AIESEC is partnered with the United Nations. We're not founded by the United Nations, but we do have a partnership with them as an organization that is working to attain the Sustainable Development Goals. So if you've never heard of these goals before, they are a set of 17 goals that was created by all of the member nations of the United Nations, and they agreed upon all 17 of these, which is pretty monumental that so many different world leaders were able to agree that these are important goals to everyone in the world. And if you're looking at the screen and you see things that matter to you or that are important to you, that's exactly what the point is. And all of our projects are built around one of these goals. So no matter where you go in the world, whatever task you're going to be doing as a volunteer has something to do with, for example, providing good health and well-being to the people in that community, or encouraging gender equality and women's empowerment, for example, with goal number 5. So as you're searching for opportunities that interest you, for some people, they prefer to lead from the goal that they're passionate about, and that's certainly something that you can search on our portal. So I want to go into specifics of one of the projects that we've been promoting all of the year, and we're really excited about it, which would be the Quality Education Sustainable Development Goal number 4. And we want to talk about why that matters in Peru specifically. So I have a screen up right now about the details of the project, and I'll just kind of leave that up before I go into details about it. But basically in Peru, what we see is especially a need for fluency in English and bilingualism. This is something that a lot of Peruvians have pointed out as a skill that allows them, it's kind of a key to unlock greater success. And it's really important for children to be given the opportunity to learn, because when adulthood comes along, just as far as, you know, brain chemistry goes, it becomes much more difficult to become bilingual. Especially in most parts of Latin America, being bilingual in English is extremely important for most careers, actually. And so what this project actually focuses on is English education, especially in youth. So I'll go ahead and kind of point out a few different details about the project. So this project specifically is located in Arequipa, Peru, which is a beautiful little city. And you know, you can look it up on the map and see it is just, this country is absolutely incredible. Specifically in this area of Peru, you see a lot of mountains along the Andes, and weather that is, although it's kind of along the coast, so you're very close to the Pacific Ocean, you can also see some sort of desert type of land and a lot of canyons. If you have ever been out to the west of the United States, it feels like an otherworldly similarity to that. It's very beautiful. I'm right now promoting, you know, one of the last openings for this project for this summer. So the start date would be July 2nd. And that is like slightly negotiable. If, for example, you have a really big event and you need to leave a little bit later, then that's something that definitely can be negotiated. And it goes for 6 weeks until August 13th, so right before UGA school starts back up. The great thing about this project is that it doesn't require any Spanish proficiency. You might not speak any Spanish at all, and you're still going to be a great asset to the program. And it's accepting of all majors and all years. So if you're a freshman and you just got out of your first year of college and you're not really sure if you have like skills needed to do this type of thing, or if you have built up a resume enough by now, that's not going to be an obstacle to you at all. We want people who are passionate about what they're going to be doing, and it's mostly just about having energy and being perseverant and seeking to develop leadership and help this area of the world. So as I mentioned before, the program cost is base $500. And then there's the equivalent of TN fees, so I can explain what that is. TN stands for trainee, and that is what a participant of this program is called when they go to the host country. This fee is only so that the local AIESECers in Arequipa can pick you up from the airport properly, and you know, it's kind of expensive to get taxi fares, so that's the only reason that they have you know, that fee attached on there. And yeah, that's the reason for that, but it's only about $75 depending on the exchange rate. So the job description, I've kind of been hinting at it, is you get to spend all day with kids aged from 6 all the way up through your 16-year-olds. So you're getting a lot of different age groups, and you are creating lesson plans and workshops that promote an environment of learning languages. And the biggest part, especially this age of children, is just bringing energy and enthusiasm to their daily lives and sharing your culture with them, making them excited about learning this other language. And it's not just a task for them, it's something that they actually want to do. What's great about it is that you get to work with a team of other volunteers, so you're not left all on your own, and you'll be working not only with, you know, other English speakers, but you will be working with people from all over the world, you know, other people from Latin America, people from Europe, people from the, you know, Asia Pacific area. So it really is a fun time getting to know not only, you know, what is it like moving from an English-speaking culture to a Spanish-speaking culture, but also everything else in between. And having that teamwork environment has been something that exchange participants have really enjoyed. And you know, just to reiterate, you are encouraging not only just the skill of speaking English, but also an enjoyment of global compassion and sharing of cultures. So that's, you know, something that exchange participants really enjoy, is working with kids to say, hey, you know, I'm not exactly the same as you, and me and my family, you know, we do things differently than you, but I still want to spend time with you and interact with you, and it's really a beautiful experience. So that's what this project is all about. And I have another video, so we're gonna see how this goes. I'll just preface it by saying that this is an American who went on this project this past summer. And so he made a really great video about especially his travels. So I hope you enjoy this video. We're gonna see how it goes. It's so cool. This video.
So I'm going to Arequipa, Peru to teach English. The only problem is that I don't speak any Spanish. Just landed in Chicago. Currently trying to sleep in an airport in Lima. Es muy sketch. Walking to work currently. cool here. Coca Canyon. Walking to a hot spring. About to cross the sketchy ass bridge. John's tweaking out. It'll go well. People say don't look down. That's beautiful. Still looking for the hot spring. Well, we never made it to the hot spring because our guide ate too many goat meats. And now our hostel is told us. Alright, it's pretty cold here on Lake Titicaca, but came here with one goal, and that's submerge or bust. We're going swimming, baby. In the bus station, headed to Ica. Cusco. Hi, we're in Cusco.
Great. I hope you guys enjoyed that video. We always love to show it just because it really illustrates the reality of how much fun it is to go meet new people and travel and work for something that's important to you. So we do want to clarify what exactly does AIESEC, provide in this experience. So we're going to go ahead and go into that. So I'll go more into detail on these, but I like this little infographic. So we help you to choose and apply for a project, and that would include if you're not really sure about what exactly you want to be doing or where you want to go. During the summertime, like I'm the primary person who's going to be helping you figure that out and use your resources to understand what's best for you. So, guiding you through the opportunities portal and helping you find, great opportunities is exactly what we're here for you to do. The second part of what we do is help you to get accepted, communicate with the receiving entity abroad, so the AIESECers who will be receiving you from the United States, and help you to get all your details in line, including insurance, committing and paying to your program, and a few other important requirements that AIESEC internationally has. And then, continuing to prepare you as far as what do I pack? What questions do I need to ask? What kind of clothes do I need to buy? Or should I start thinking about how to make lesson plans, or educate myself about the environment if it's an environmental project that you're going on. And then lastly, when you actually go on your project and make an impact, while you're abroad, it's AIESEC's responsibility it's ultimately our responsibility to ensure that everything goes not only smoothly, but that you fulfill the leadership experience that you were expecting during your program. So, we're never gonna just leave you, never just gonna send you and then not talk to you ever again. As long as you want to update us, we're there for you, and we want to hear about how your experience is going. And so at the beginning, we introduced Eileen, and I'm going to bring her over here to kind of talk to us about her experience. As she mentioned, she had done an AIESEC experience in the past. So I do just want to reiterate that although we've only shown information about this specific project in Peru, there are other projects available as well. If one of the other sustainable development goals really plucks at your heartstrings or is very interesting to you, those things can certainly, there are usually projects surrounding any sustainable development goal that you're interested in. So that would be something that once you get started on your process, that we would help you kind of find that. But to bring sort of a different perspective, here's Eileen.
Hey guys. So yeah, like I said at the beginning of the info session, I went to Delhi, India. I was there on a volunteer opportunity, so I was there for 6 weeks. And I remember I heard about AIESEC and like the volunteer and internship opportunities back in freshman year. And I remember the person who told me about it, I was just thinking the entire time, I was like, wow, I've never actually heard of an internship or volunteer program available for freshmen. I always thought that I had to be a little bit older, have more credentials and stuff like that. And so it really amazed me that I could go when I was a freshman. And even though I didn't ultimately go until I was a sophomore, it was still something that I found in it to be a very great opportunity for me to do over the summer that could really build up my resume professionally, but also for me, I had never really been abroad before, and I want to go to a place that I'd really get a lot of culture shock in. So for me, that was Delhi, India, and I really wanted to just immerse myself. So personally, I had a lot of stake in that as well. As you can see on the screen, the girl in the picture on the left, she is my EP buddy. So when you go to Peru, you will also receive like AIESEC member from Arequipa who is assigned to you and make sure that you are taken care of throughout your experience abroad. And so she, Darby, that's her name, she was my EP buddy. And that was taken on the 3rd day that I was in India, and the really first time I was able to really explore and get out of India, or get out of the hostel and really check out the city a little bit. And that picture of the meal is, they're called momos. They're essentially like Indian dumplings. They're really good. But that was like the first meal I had in India, so it was very special for me, and is very commemorative for me. And then if you look at the little red box, that is the logo of the NGO that I worked with. It was called ActionAid, and it's a NGO focused on working on human rights in a very broad aspect. But what I was doing was I was there to draft state bills to allocate state funds for neglected castes within different regions of India. So it's kind of technical. It's different from what you would do in Peru, where you're teaching children. But I know that when I was looking for projects, it wasn't really a matter of what I was doing, but more so like what kind of impact I was creating. And India was just happened to be the one that I chose. But I definitely would go again on the Peru one because it seems very, very cool. So I apologize for the photos as well. They're not very professional. They're screenshots of Snapchat. But those 3 photos are just some of like the really incredible cuisine that India had to offer me. And that was a really fun part of the trip, was just not only exploring the culture and understanding another country through what I was doing, but also just understanding it through food and small things like that. And so it was one of my favorite things to just kind of go to a restaurant and like not know anything about what the menu was offering, not even know how to read it per se, but just like looking at the menu and and saying, okay, I haven't seen this word before, so I'm going to try it. And, you know, for the most part, it worked out really well in my favor. And I think the same thing would go for Peru. And just trying out the Peruvian cuisine would be really cool as well. I also, one of my favorite parts of the exchange was being able to meet so many people from so many different cultures. The thing I really value about these exchanges is that I was able to, first of all, meet Indians in a very unique way, as in, if I'd gone to India as a tourist, I don't think I would have been able to have the conversations I had with Indians, or be able to especially work alongside them. So understanding them in their working environment and understanding how the different cultures can relate in that sense. But I was also able to meet a lot of other international interns, like Hannah mentioned earlier. You're not just there by yourself or with other Americans, but you're also there with a lot of other international AIESEC interns as well, which is really great. And so the middle picture are there's only 8 of them in the picture, but I stayed in a room with 9 other girls. We were in a hostel, so you'd be with a host family. So this situation is a little bit different, but you'd still meet other interns. And within that picture alone, there are countries represented from Indonesia, Egypt, Hong Kong, England, India, of course, and then also Colombia. So a lot of different cultures, and one of my favorite things was coming home from work at night, and then the 10 of us would get together, get a meal from the roadside vending restaurant, and then thank you, and then kind of eat together, talk about how things were going, talk about things that I don't think I would have thought I would have been able to connect to, but at the end of the day, you know, we realized that we're all teenage young adults, women, trying to navigate our way in this world, and so we were able to connect on a lot of different levels, and we were able to also explore India together, which was one of my greatest experiences in that, is the fact that if you look at the picture on the left, we all went out and got henna together, or mendi as they call it, and then we went on the Delhi subway during rush hour, and that was a massive mistake. We were rubbing henna ink on everyone, and they were not happy. So yeah, that was like a mistake, but we learned it together. And then the picture on the right is a picture that I took when one of the Egyptian girls, she wore hijab, and she was teaching the girl from Hong Kong how to properly wear the hijab. And so again, we were able to explore India together, and we were also able to explore each other's cultures together. So that was something I really valued. Also, those are 2 other guys from our hostel as well that I also met. The one on the left, his name is Dibu. He looks Indian, and he was born in India, but he was raised basically his entire life in England. And we were able to really relate on the level that I, as a Korean American, would go to a foreign country as India, and a lot of people would look at me and they would assume, first of all, that was Chinese. And they would go, okay, so you're Chinese, so you are from China, you speak Chinese, you're nothing else but that, right? And that's like immediate first impression. And what he and I both had to learn was how to talk to other people and help them to understand that even though we are of a certain ethnicity and we look a certain way, we're actually this way. So for me, that meant, yes, I may look, Chinese or whatever immediate first East Asian country comes to mind, but I'm actually of Korean descent. But that being said, I really don't know anything about, I'm very American. I don't know how to speak Korean. I've never been to Korea, and I had to really explain that to a lot of people, and that was a very interesting way to understand other people and how they view humans, but then also have other people understand me and how I relate as a American living in the way that I live. And Dibu and I really connected on that level. And then the guy on the on the right, his name is Ali. He's from Egypt. And he and I had a really powerful conversation one day. We were traveling through Jaipur with him and a couple other guys. And this is something that you can do on the weekend, which is also really nice. You can choose your own itinerary, where to go. But we went to Jaipur, and Ali and I one night were sitting on the rooftop of the hostel that we were at, just talking, having food, stuff like that. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, Ali asked me, oh, well, how do you feel, or how do Americans feel about the Egyptian Revolution? And it kind of took me aback, because I was like, I mean, how do you think we felt? And he was like, well, a lot of my friends, who are also Egyptian, of course, we've heard rumors that the American media portrayed the regime as ideal, and they were on the side of the regime. But what I had to explain to him was like, no, I mean, from what I remember, the American media was very much on the side of the revolutionaries. We viewed it as a revolution and not as an insurgency or anything like that. And he was sort of like, oh, okay, so now I understand a little bit better. And then he proceeded to talk to me about how he grew up during the Egyptian Revolution. And he told me that on the day of the first round of the Egyptian Revolution, that was the same day as his 16th birthday. So he remembers being sent home from school. He remembers coming home and his father had pulled out a gun that he didn't know that his father had. And it was sort of this very tumultuous, unpredicted, unexpected event that was sort of happening around the time that he was growing up, and he was, sort of coming into his own. And he was telling me about how he went to the square to protest, and how he would have to eventually run away from the square because the regime was coming in to shut down the protesters. He would tell me about how his family, including him and his neighbors and everyone on his street, would lock down the street so that any vehicles moving through had to sort of be screened by these ragtag team of civilians, essentially. And he was telling me about how he didn't go to school for a while, and all these very scary things. And when I was listening to him, I was very worried for him. It put me in a state of anxiety. But then at the end of that, after all these very alarming things that he was telling me, he was saying, well, that really excited me. And I was like, what, 360, what did you say? And he's like, well, that really excited me because I was able to be a part of a really big, life-changing event for Egyptians. And at the time, I don't know if you guys remember, but last summer there was a lot of contentiousness over, the presidential elections were getting underway. There was a lot of police brutality incidents and a lot of Black Lives Matter protests. And so America was very, again, contentious, and they were very much up in arms. And so for me, being an American in India and having to talk to people about what was going on in my country, I felt very removed from it. And I was like, I don't recognize America. I don't think I like this side of America. I don't like how we're constantly arguing, and so many people would tell me, oh, Americans, they just don't know when to shut up and stuff like that. And it was something that I was like very much not proud of my American side. But talking to Ali, I was able to understand that even though we as Americans are founded on, essentially debate and argument and a revolution, and even though we kind of have the stereotype that, oh, Americans don't know when to be quiet and stuff, I was very proud to represent that after talking to him, because I was like, we're right. Like, even though we have a lot of things going on within our political atmosphere, within our social atmosphere, we're having a lot of debates. That's a good thing, and Americans will always be able to speak up and have their voice be heard about that. And so that talking to him really put my American side into perspective, and I really found like my patriotic identity for America when I was talking to an Egyptian in India. And so that's something that I really took away from my Indian experience, just one of many. Another thing that I took away was, if you look at the picture, that is a mall near the hostel that I was staying at in Delhi. And it is like the nicest mall I've ever been to in my life. It is ridiculous. Like, you walk in and there's like a Bentley on display. It's kind of insane. But if you look at the lower right-hand side of the picture, there's like sort of the street. You can kind of see the brickway. That's where the tuk-tuks would drop us off. And the thing is that's really interesting is that you look at this mall and it's incredibly luxurious. unlike anything you've ever seen, super rich, super fancy. And then literally on the other side of the street, there is a slum and there are people picking through trash. And so when you get dropped off to go shopping for your Bentley, you look over and you see, complete poverty, unlike anything that you would see in America. And I got really frustrated at that because I couldn't understand how Indians could go and ignore these real life problems that were in front of us, or go and shop when they have so many poor people roaming the streets and such poverty just right in front of their eyes. And I got really frustrated, and I was like, how could you just ignore that? And then another example of when I would see stuff like this was when I went to the Golden Temple. So the Golden Temple is unbelievably elaborate and extravagant. And it's, literally a temple of gold. But the thing is that it's sort of encompassed in this courtyard. And when you look out of the courtyard, as you can see in the picture on the right, the Golden Temple is essentially surrounded by, again, a slum. And I was so frustrated. I was like, how could you look at this and appreciate it when you're ignoring these people who are starving to death? And I got really mad at the Indians, and I couldn't understand that. And then I had to understand the fact that I couldn't be mad, first of all, at Indians for doing that when we do that in America. Of course, we don't have people necessarily picking through trash on the street, but it's still, just because it's not as obvious in our eyes doesn't mean that the problem isn't still there, and doesn't mean that we don't also look past these real life problems in order to look at something fancier and something more extravagant. And so looking and going through India and taking that in, I had to really put my American identity again on perspective, and I had to really sort of take a step back and not be so hypocritical, because I know that I have also ignored real life problems. And so if there was anything else I also took away from India, it would also be the fact that, first of all, I can't go to another culture and judge them for something that I also do, but also I have to pay attention to the real life problems, and I can't ignore it. And I think that's something that AIESEC experiences also really offer you a chance to do, is to really say, like, again, focusing on sustainable development goals, I really care about something for social justice. I really care about something for this world. I really care about something for humanity, and I'm going to go out and do something about it. And so, obviously, just to wrap up this very long summary, it's the experience I had through AIESEC was something that I took away a lot personally. I understood a lot more about myself in ways I wasn't expecting to before I went on this trip. But also, I was able to, professionally, of course, add to my resume, and being able to talk to employers now and be like, yeah, I spent 6 weeks volunteering in a country that I can't speak the language. It's pretty impressive to have. But then also, just overall in a human experience, it was something that I, never regretted, and it was something that I really valued. So that's just my 2 cents. If you guys have any questions at all, of course you can send it in the YouTube link, in the Google Hangouts link, or on Facebook. But also, if you want to reach out to me after this, I'm also in the Facebook event page, so you can just Facebook message me at any time, and I'd love to talk to you.
So awesome. Yeah. Thanks, Eileen.
Of course.
Great. I always love hearing her story. It's really quite incredible. So do not hesitate to reach out to her. And there are plenty of other AIESECers and past exchange participants that, didn't end up joining AIESEC, the local organization. So if you want to talk more specifically with someone, that's a perfect example of something that you could, shoot me an email about. So as we're wrapping up this session, I hope that you've kind of gotten a little bit more information about what AIESEC is, what we do with our programs, and what it's like to be on one of those programs. And just, I want to go into a little bit more of the specifics about how you can actually get started with this. Typically what we do is we assign account managers to anyone who wants to consider going on an AIESEC program. For the summer months, I will be the account manager for anyone who's interested. So again, I'm Hannah. I'm really excited to work with anyone who's interested in going this summer. Or if you're just kind of like looking at the options and seeing what we have, I'd love to meet with you. So the account manager role is really just a person who is kind of there at your beck and call to answer any questions for you and help you find something that fits your preferences perfectly, as well as guiding you through that process of maybe you haven't done an interview with an international before, so you want to have someone help you prepare for that, or you've never bought insurance for travel before and you need help understanding how to do it. And even at the basics of what should I bring as a gift for my host family or for people that I might meet when I go to the country. They're there for you. That is what the account manager is all about. So that kind of makes AIESEC a little bit different in that we personally take care of each and every single possible exchange participant as well as we possibly can. You have this person to support you, and the major place to do this entire process of finding an opportunity, applying to an opportunity, being accepted, committing to that project, it all happens in the AIESEC opportunities portal. So the website is AIESEC or opportunities.aisec.org. And that is where you'll make an account. So once you make an account, that's actually visible to me, and I would reach out to you at that point and kind of give you some guiding tips. And so if you kind of already have an idea of what you're looking for, then you can go ahead and search opportunities there. And it's really as long as your opportunities portal account is completely finished, like all of the different items on the profile are filled out, then it's just as easy as hitting the apply button to show interest in a project. After that, you do complete interviews with the entity abroad. For most of the other receiving AIESEC entities, it's just one interview, but for others, you have an interview with the AIESECers and then a second interview with the NGO that you would be working with. So I did just want to reiterate that we have a priority deadline of June 10th to apply. So, maybe you're kind of like, I'm kind of interested. It's not really necessarily any commitment to apply to a project, but you will be, that's getting yourself set up for an interview and that type of thing. So if you are at all interested in doing AIESEC this summer, then we recommend that you kind of start looking at your options now this coming week. So once you have completed interviews, with volunteer projects, as long as you're passionate about what you're doing and maybe there might be a language requirement on some certain programs, then you're pretty much almost guaranteed to be accepted. They are really just looking for people who care. That's the major priority. So it's nothing to really be afraid of. But after that, you can commit to a project by paying the program fee within 7 days of being accepted. So that is kind of something that can be a little bit difficult for some people. And if that's the case, just let us know ahead of time, like, hey, for me, it depends on when I get my next paycheck, and that's when I would be more willing to pay, or we can work that out. But that's typically how our process works, is that it's within that 7-day period. And then once you are committed to your program, it's all about preparation. And part of that is a required outgoing preparation seminar. We would likely do that just kind of similar to this in a video format. So you would be able to ask questions and learn more about how to get yourself set up. So that's all that's about, and it doesn't typically take too long, and it can be really fun. And then lastly, you get to go on your exchange. So you get to have that leadership process. And we're so excited about that. So if you have questions about how to get started or how to use the opportunities portal, that's something that you can always contact us about. You have my email, and then we're very open through Facebook as well, if that's easier for you. So yeah, that concludes our information session. Thanks so much for checking out the video. We really appreciate it and hope that it has been informative for you. But yeah, just to kind of give you the link again, our opportunities portal is opportunities.aisec.org. And you can search opportunities there, and you can also apply once you've completed your profile. Our priority deadline is going to be June 10th, so start looking at those this week and get in contact with us if you are interested. We'd love to talk more with you if you have further questions. So as I keep reiterating and saying over and over again, please reach out. We'd love to hear from you. But that's it for today. Thanks so much for tuning in. Bye.
Thanks, guys.